This is the best part of being alive. Having vacation. I'm on my vacation right now, guys. Excuse the shaggedy raggedy rag here. I just came home from the beach with my kids and my wife. And a thought hit me. You know what I haven't done for a while? A state of the collection video. And you know, in the beginning of this year, I actually didn't have much to show. I had 3 watches. It was the perfect trio for me. 3 watches that I could regularly rotate and still give them enough time on the wrist. And still I felt like my Tudor Black Bay GMT got a little less time than it deserved. But 3 watches was my sweet spot. And now somehow in July 2021, 7 months later, I have 13 watches once again. I just don't know how that happens, but I guess it's the curse of the collector. You just keep on buying stuff that you know that you don't need, but still you just need it. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's just flip the camera around and do a state of the collection video. Summer 2021 edition. Okay, and here we are at the table once again. As you see, I'm not wearing anything today because I'm going to be putting on a lot of watches, and I'm going to begin with the one that I've had the longest, and I'm going to move up the ladder. So let's go. This one is a watch that I got when I finished 9th grade here in Sweden. A Pulsar Chronograph, and I was really happy with this watch when I got it. It was I don't know, here in Sweden it's not a difficult achievement to finish 9th grade, but somehow my parents wanted to celebrate the occasion, and they bought me this watch. It had a turning bezel. It's actually perfectly aligned, and I don't know if the chronograph is still working because I have to change the battery. It's a quartz watch, as you see, Pulsar Movement Japan. I actually think that Pulsar is owned by Seiko, but I really don't know if that's true. Maybe it is. Pressed metal clasp, as you can see, Pulsar writing on the lock. Yeah, I really loved this watch for a long time. I wore it every day, and I actually think that it still somewhat fits. I might have taken it out because it has a bunch of micro adjustment holes, as you can see, so I might have taken it out through the years. I should put a battery in this, and as you can see, that's what it looks like. This is what it looked like in 9th grade. I think I was 15 years old or something like that, without the tattoos, obviously. Okay, so let's continue on. Take the Pulsar off me, put it right there. And then my grandfather passed away. This was his watch, a Doorwheel watch. This was a watch that he got from the company that he worked for. He worked there for a lot of years, and I think they might have given this watch to him before he retired, or maybe for 15 years as an employee. I really don't know, but it's still working. As you can see, the little second hand is ticking away right there. It's not an expensive watch. It's a cheap watch, Doorwheel 17 rubies, but it's my grandfather always wore this watch on his wrist, and I really, when I look at the watch, I don't wear it because it's not my type of watch, but when I look at it, I have it in a special cabin. When I look at it, it reminds me of my grandfather because he always wore it, and I'm happy to actually own the watch. That's the one thing he left for me, and I'm happy that he did. I think the bracelet is not an original bracelet, and it's really low quality. I really don't know where to open this. Yeah, you open it there, and as you can see on the back, Doorwheel 2907. Yeah, it is what it is. It's a gentleman's watch, My grandfather was a true gentleman, and I can't even fit it on me. He was a little thinner than I am, so there you have it, the Doorwheel watch. Those are two watches that I'm never going to sell, because there's no point in selling them, and because they mean so much to me. The memories that are tied to these two watches are really strong, and I see no reason to selling them. I'm gonna put them away, and then we're actually going to the little watch roll here, because inside here we have the watch that I actually have had with me for the longest time, and it's actually the Tudor Black Bay GMT. If you remember, I had a hard time deciding if I wanted to keep the Tudor or the Tag Heuer. I made a video about it, comparing the two, Tudor Black Bay GMT versus Tag Heuer Aquaracer GMT, and I decided to keep the Tudor, and I'm really glad that I did, because this is a watch that ever since I bought my Rolex, it doesn't get a lot of wrist time, but as soon as I take it out from the box and as soon as I put it on the wrist again, I have a hard time understanding why I don't wear it more, because for me it's a perfect watch. It's vintage inspired, and yet it's not a dainty little watch. It's a solid watch. As you can see, some people are complaining about the thickness, but it's actually not that thick when you put it on. It's a vintage inspired watch that still has a wrist presence, and that still is really sturdy, and it has a really sexy appeal to it. I love the riveted bracelet. Actually, the bracelet is one of my favorite parts about this watch. As I said in the video review, I love how they integrated the Tudor logo into the bracelet, the shield there, and a little bit of the shield there. It's a really nice GMT watch, and this was a watch that I bought when I thought that the Rolex GMT was too small, and I thought I couldn't pull off 40 millimeters or 41 millimeters, and then I bought the Tag Heuer, and then on a chance I bought the Tudor, and I realized that I can't pull off smaller watches, and this was actually the watch that eventually made me buy the Rolex GMT Master II, because at first I didn't think I was gonna able to have that small of a watch, but the Tudor introduced me into thinking that you can. I think it looks great on me. I really love the vintage vibe. I love the subdued blue and the is it called maroon red, maybe blood red, on that bezel, aluminum bezel, and the fact that the bezel is aluminum is actually giving it more of a vintage vibe. I love the snowflake hands, and it's a really legible watch. I just love the watch. Okay, it's been with me for I think 3 years now. I haven't had any date problems, and I hope I'm not gonna have any date problems. But that's the Tudor Black Bay GMT. And actually, the next watch on my list that I've had with me the longest is actually the Rolex GMT Master II Pepsi. There it is. Just gonna take it off the pillow, put the pillow back in the watch roll, put the watch roll there. This is my grail watch. When I first saw that it was released, I really loved the look, because I'm a real sucker for purple, and in some lights the upper part of the bezel actually is a little purplish, and the lower part of the red is a special kind of red. I've told you guys I'm not good at naming colors in English, but I'm doing my best. I saw it, I loved it, and then I tried it on in a store. The store owner had one on him, and we talked a lot, and I had the opportunity to try it on, and I thought that it was too small on my wrist. And then a bunch of watches later, the Tudor GMT came in. I wore that for a while. I liked the smaller size. I had a Gino watch that was 40 millimeters. I liked the smaller side, and eventually I started liking smaller size watches, and then I came back to this one. I was really happy because the Tudor changed my perception of smaller watches, and I was really happy that I could actually save up money, sell a lot of watches and a lot of other things and actually buy my dream watch, and this is it. Every time I put it on my wrist, it feels like heaven. It feels like a accomplishment, a personal accomplishment, for even having the opportunity to buy the watch, and it feels like I've done something. I've succeeded in wanting something that's really expensive, for me that is, and actually buying it, and that's a big achievement for me. Loving the bracelet. It's the most comfortable bracelet that I have in my collection, the Jubilee bracelet. One thing that I don't like with the watch, or I wish it had a quick adjust system like on the Submariner. We have the 5mm option to wear it like this if you want to, but yeah, that's nothing compared to the quick slide or glide lock system. That's what it's called. Nothing compared to the glide lock on the Submariner, and I wish this one had that as well, but it doesn't. It doesn't have that, but the actual watch is, in my eyes, better looking than the Submariner, and that's why I love it. I would rather have this watch and miss the clasp than have a Submariner and have the clasp but miss the color combination. As you all know, I'm a sucker for GMTs, and I'm a real sucker for red and blue, and I think this watch wears so nice. It's so comfortable, and I just when I put it on me, I have a hard time taking it off, even when I go to sleep. And that's why the Tudor GMT actually gets so little wrist time. But I don't have a heart to sell it, because I really like it when I put it on. And if I sell it, I think I'm gonna regret it. So I'm not gonna do that. And yeah, that's the Rolex GMT Master II. Now let's put that to the side, and let's take out, oh sorry, I spin the table around there, and let's take out the third GMT in my collection that I've had the longest. It's actually the Squally Tropic GMT. Here it is. You guys know the story behind this watch, that I bought it used. Loved it for a while, sold it because I didn't like it anymore, and then I missed it, and I missed it, and I missed it, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time I saw pictures of it, I just wanted to buy it once again, and I bought it again. Simply, as simple as that. Actually, the first that I had was a little misaligned in the bezel, so I wrote to Nomon Watches before I ordered it, asking them to double check if the bezel is aligned, and they actually did, and they sent me a perfectly aligned example, and I'm loving it. This is my beater watch. I wear it on my work. I wear it every day when I'm working, not so much on my vacation. I have a vacation now, so it actually sits in the drawer a lot, or in the safe, I should say. I love the combination of a little hints of really dark red inside that dial on the GMT hand and on the GMT writing there, and I love the vintage look. I really like the color combination of, I think it's supposed to be I don't know if it's true, but I think that the gray up here is supposed to be really, really faded black, and it's a dark blue on the lower half. I love the case of this watch. It's a really comfortable case. I think Squally really nails it with the cases they do, and you see the logo on the crown is actually facing upright. Even Rolex can't do that for some reason, but Squally, they did it on this one at least. I love the case. It's a really nice case. I love the brushing. It's really I don't know if you can see it on my camera, but it's quite of a harsh brushing on those lugs, and by that I mean that you can see the brush strokes. I really like that, but I wish that it was matched by the brushing on the bracelet, which it's not. The bracelet is also brushed, but it's not as roughly brushed, and I wish that it was. but it isn't. It's a fantastic bracelet, and the only letdown with this watch is actually the clasp. I think that the clasp, while perfectly good on what it's supposed to do, and it's not uncomfortable or anything, I just think that it's subpar to the watch itself. This is where they cheaped out, and it's nothing like it's solid steel. It's not pressed metal or anything. It's just that it feels a little, I don't know if Seiko-esque. They cheaped out on the clasp, that's one thing. And I've actually tried asking people in the Squally group if they know if I could exchange the clasp for something else and keep the bracelet, because I really love the bracelet, but I don't know if they can give me any straight up answer. So oh, sorry, we're gonna try it on. I know you guys want to see that. Squally GMT, there we go. There it is. Let me just zoom out. There it is. That's what it looks like on my 20 centimeters wrist. I think it's a beautiful watch. It has a vibe of its own, and I haven't had anything like it, and I really love the Cyclops. It's the next best Cyclops in the business that I've owned. Next to the Rolex, because I've owned a lot of watches with Cyclops, and some of them do a really poor job. Rolex is the best, but Squally is actually not far behind on the Cyclops game. Okay, there we go. Let's take that off and put it to the side. And those were the 3 watches that I had for a while, and I was perfectly fine with those 3 watches. And then I thought to myself, I have to have a G-Shock, because I love G-Shocks, and I've had a lot of G-Shocks, but I was missing one. I have to have a G-Shock, a watch that I can just throw around without any care in the world. So I bought myself the solar powered Square. The quintessential G-Shock in my eyes. The perfect watch. It's small, you don't feel it on the wrist, but it is there. It's solar powered and shows you the time, and yeah, sure, you can time your walks or whatever you want with it, but I usually just have it like it is. Great background lighting with it's actually it's not the white background lighting, this is more blue greenish. And yeah, the strap, yeah, it could have been better, but it is what it is. This is not an expensive G-Shock. It's actually one of the cheaper ones you can get. Not as cheap as if it wasn't solar powered, but still a cheap watch. So you pay what you get for. You get what you pay for with the strap. And I've actually thought about buying some adapters and buying myself some Barton straps. I'm gonna do that once I get to it. This is what it looks like on my wrist. It feels like nothing, and that's the perfect thing about it. It looks fantastic, gives me that classic retro look, and it doesn't feel like it's there. A perfect watch to have when you're doing some heavy duty work, or just bashing around with the children, or whatever you want to do. But there's a thing with buying G-Shocks, and that's it's a slippery slope. You buy one, you just have to buy another one, and then another one. You just don't stop. So I actually bought the Casio Gray. I couldn't help myself. This one looks so badass, and I saw a lot of photos of it everywhere on social media, and I just had to buy one for myself. I got a good price on it in one of the Facebook groups, and then I just had to do it. And the great thing about this is that it's gray. It's so without color that my arm matches it perfectly. Because when I combined, oh, that was one step too far. When I combined this gray and dull G-Shock without any colors, when I combine it with my colored up arm, I actually think that this is a winning combination. It looks fantastic. I don't know what you guys think. Some of you don't like my tattoos at all, but I think this is a great combination. And G-Shocks with hour and minute hands are really not my cup of tea. I actually prefer them to be only digital, but there's something about the Casio and especially about the Casio Gray. I had the red in the beginning, and I sold that one because it was just too much red, even though red is my favorite color. But this gray is looking fantastic. Anyway, as I said, you can't just buy one, you can't just buy two, and actually I bought three. And the third one was the Rangeman. The Rangeman is a watch that I've actually owned twice before, and I bought it once again. It's a bulkier G-Shock. It gives you the barometer and some thermometer and whatever ohmmeter it is. It's a beefier piece of watch, and I thought that I can have a Rangeman for those if I go hiking or something. You start imagining yourself doing stuff that you never do, and it usually ends up being as it was before. I'm actually gonna sell this one, I think, for a third time, because I don't wear it. I never wear it, and when I put it on my wrist, it's just too bulky. It's a piece of watch. I mean, I don't think it's too big for me with my 20 centimeter wrist. That's not the problem. It's just that the height of it and the feel of it, compared to the other two, you can actually feel this on your wrist. And yeah, I love the look of it. I love those small details of red everywhere, and combined with the black, almost a little gray case and strap. But I just never reach for it, It's just sitting there, and I never feel the urge for putting it on, so I'm gonna let it pass on. It's in mint condition, and yeah, because I haven't worn it for a while. What do we have after this one? Actually, then we have the Zelos Horizons version 3. I think this is. I really had to. I saw this watch a couple of times in one of the Facebook groups, and I just thought to myself, I really have to film that watch because it has a stunning meteorite dial. And I made a deal with the guy that owned it. I was just gonna loan it for a video, and if I liked it, I was gonna buy it. And I actually ended up liking it really much, and I bought it. So here it is in the collection. It's actually the Zelos watch that I've had the longest. I've had a couple of them, and this one has been here for a couple of months now. I really love the really pale blue, almost denim blue, on that brushed ceramic bezel insert, combined with the blue PVD coated meteorite dial. And you have a color matched date wheel at 6 o'clock, which I actually love. I love dates at 6 o'clock. This is a perfect watch, the perfect combination of brushed and polished all over the place, really nice bracelet, and a perfect clasp. Zelos logo on the front, and then a quick adjust system. You just pull this little lever, and oh, sorry, I'm not doing it right. Yeah, I am. There you go. It's actually pulled out all the way. There you have it. Pull that little lever in, and you just fold it in, and you pull that little lever again, and you fold it out. Perfect. I mean, this is a great watch. Zelos gives you so much bang for your buck. And comparing this to the Seiko that I have right now, I mean, it's not a contest. Seiko is my favorite micro brand, and I think that they're gonna stay my favorite micro brand for a while. It's a little bigger watch. It's actually 42 millimeters, but it fits me perfectly. Yeah, it's a great looking watch, and Zelos gives you that. Actually, Zelos is one of the few head turners that I've owned. Not a lot of people are turning their heads and asking me about the Rolex or the Tudor or anything, but when I wear this watch, I've actually had a couple of people asking me what that watch is. When I tell them it's a meteorite dial, they don't believe me. When I tell them the price, they don't believe me, but it is what it is. Limited to 100 pieces. I think it was 100, or was it 125? let's just check here on the case pack. It says, I think it says, yeah, number 78 of 100. Great watch. Yep, let's go down on the list. Now we have a couple of newcomers. First of all, I was doing a little thing with a Swedish shop, doing a little thing with the Facebook group, and that shop was sponsoring us, and they're actually selling Pagani Design watches here in Sweden, and I asked him if he could send one of those for a video, and I was gonna send it right back, and I actually ended up buying it. This is the Pagani Design Rolex Explorer 2 homage, or use whatever word you want to. I know some people want to call it a straight up copy, but we're not gonna go into that discussion today. And it's a really good watch for the money that you pay. I really don't know anything about the Chinese movement in here. I'm gonna do a full video on this watch, telling you everything that I can find out about it, and that's the thing with these Pagani watches. You don't know how long these movements will last you, but for the money you pay, it actually doesn't even matter if it just lasts you a couple of years. You can just buy a new one. You get a sapphire glass, you get an automatic GMT movement, you get a date cyclops, you get a stainless steel, you get a nice bracelet in actually it's not stamped metal, it's solid steel here. You get a nice little open case back, even though it's not the prettiest movement in the world. It's still something. They still tried to do something with it. We get some water resistance at 100 meters, and all this for 150 euros. It's a really cheap watch, and I don't know how they can keep on making these that cheap. Sure, it has some quality control problems like all watches in this price range, but I actually think that you have to know what you're paying for, and you have to consider the price when you're paying it for this kind. You cannot expect a perfect watch for that kind of money, but I'm going to tell you all about that in the video, and I just had to buy it. I really liked the look of the Rolex Explorer 2 for a while, but I'm not going to be able to buy that watch because I have other watches that I would like to buy before that one. So I thought that this might be a little piece of a little way for me to try it on and really see if I maybe should consider buying the Rolex Explorer 2. And that's what I'm considering, because I'm really liking this one. Maybe I would like to try out the black dial one, but it is what it is right now. So the Pagani Design came in late, and another watch that actually also came in late was this one, the NII Liberty watch. This is a watch that I bought really cheap. I just wanted to buy it to feature it on the channel, which I did. I have not been able to film the video yet. I have not had time. I have a lot of things in my plate right now. But for the money that I paid for this watch, it's really cheap. And for the money that they're asking for it on the website right now, it's really cheap. As I always say, I love the dash of red, the little detail of red on that second hand. And it has a cool little shape with the crown guards on the right side, and then mimicking the crown guards without a crown on the left. It's an interesting watch with actually a perfectly good butterfly clasp bracelet. It's brushed, it's nice, working good. It's pins, but I'm getting used to pins by now. Statue of Liberty on the back. I love New York. We have water resistance. Yeah, it's a cool little watch for the money that I paid for it, and I'm gonna be it's gonna be interesting getting to know the watch a little better and actually filming it for the channel, because I like the look of it. It's a classic watch. Oh, and then the Citizen World Time GMT, or GMT World Time. I've been longing for this watch for a while. And then I saw Jory review it on his channel, Just One More Watch. And then I saw a friend of mine looking for it in the Facebook group. And I saw another friend of mine having it for sale, barely used. And the first friend of mine, he bought it before me. And then he didn't want it. because he backed out of the deal, and then I got the chance to buying it, and I bought it actually just for a video, but it's actually growing on me more and more for every day. I've had a couple of Citizen watches before, and it's a really busy watch with all those cities on that steel bezel, and the bezel is actually free spinning, no clicks or anything like that. But there's something about it, it's really great. And when I put out pictures of it, I actually get people asking me if I want to sell it every day. We have a little weird positioning of the crown there. As you can see, I would have thought that the crown should have been positioned a little more up than it is, but it's not. It's just lowered into the, I guess it's, I don't know why, it is what it is, but it's perfectly functioning. It is how it's supposed to be, so there's no wrongdoings here. I just thought it was a little weird to have it lowered like that, but maybe it's because of the bezel, so you don't interact with the bezel. I don't know. We have a really good bracelet with an interesting you see an interesting shape of those links. It's pins. It's pins on the bracelet links are not screwed in. They're actually sitting in there with pins. I'm actually getting really tired of talking right now. We're into half an hour, but it's a state of the collection video. It's a nice clasp, a little prolonged here, Citizen marked on the lock. It's a good watch. It's a really good watch, and it's a cheap watch as well. I think that the new there is somewhere around 280 euros or something like that, and I bought it used for almost half of that. It looks good. It's a little thicker than I think that it has to be because it's a quartz watch, but I think they've done that because of the depth of that dial. It looks really deep, as you can see on that rehaut, or what it's called. It's a really deep down dial below that mineral glass. And yeah, it's mineral glass, but you get what you pay for. And it's a solar quartz watch. I think it's like you load it up in the sun and it can last for 6 months without any light at all, and it looks good on my wrist, and I have it because of that. So let's continue here. I think we just have one more watch to show you guys, and it's the Seiko Prospex Solar watch. I only bought this one because it really reminds me of a vintage Tudor, and I'm going to show you a picture of the vintage Tudor right here. As you can see, you can clearly see the influences on that faded blue bezel, and it has a sapphire glass, and it actually aligns. It aligns perfectly with the bezel, and that's for me, that's a rare thing when it comes to Seiko. But really, when I got this watch home, I really didn't read that it was a solar powered watch, even though it says so on the dial. So I was a little surprised that it was ticking. I actually thought that this was an automatic watch, and based on the price, it's like 500 and yeah, I think the price is right here. Yeah, it's 6,000 Swedish crowns. That's 600 euros, give or take. That's a lot. That's a lot of money, and I really think that I really don't know. With Seiko, I guess you pay for the name, because there's so many things on this watch that you do not have on cheaper watches, like the pressed metal clasp. I mean, really, pressed metal clasp for 600 euros when you have a Chinese counterpart with a solid metal clasp for 150 euros. Or sure, don't compare it with the Pagani, because some of you might think that they're not high quality. Compare it with the Zelos. Zelos is I think it's $550. It has a solid metal clasp still. No pressed metal here. Solid end links. we have on the Seiko hollow end links. I really don't know why they're doing this. I'm sure it's cutting costs. I guess that's the thing. But when you Google hollow end links versus solid end links, they actually, a lot of people prefer hollow end links because it gives them that vintage feel, and it's easier to take them on and off. But I don't know, if you have the drilled lugs, it still would have been quite easy to take them on and off. And one more thing, really, they cannot give you a signed crown on a watch for 600 euros when they can give you a signed crown on a Pagani for 150 euros. But you know what? Even though I have my complaints, and even though I have my strong feelings about the price of this one, I still buy it because I love the look. I still bought the watch because I actually loved how it looks on me. It looks so good. I think it's 39 millimeters in diameter, or 38.5. It looks so good, and it actually gives me a little of that vintage feel without the watch being vintage. And I really like what I see here. It's even though I have my complaints about the cost-cutting things, I actually just want to see a little thing about the date there. I think maybe it's going through a shift or something, because it wasn't perfectly. I thought it was a little misaligned. Let's see if it changes when I spin it around. We're almost there. No, it doesn't. Did not want to change date there. Let's just take it another round. Yeah, there you have it. No, the date window is okay. Nothing wrong with it at all. It's actually, the crown on this watch is really tiny, and I have a hard time operating it with my gorilla hands. But yeah, that's it, and that's the entire collection as it looks. Summer 2021. We have Seiko, we have Squally, we have Pagani, we have Doorwheel, we have Pulsar, we have G-Shock, another G-Shock, let's put it right there, and a third G-Shock. We have a Tudor Black Bay GMT, we have the Rolex GMT Master II, we have the NII or NYI Liberty watch, we have the Zelos, let's put it in the middle right there, and we have the Citizen World Timer GMT. I started the year with 3 watches, and I was happy with that. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I'm lying. I started the year with 3 watches that I actually wear, and I actually have always had the Pulsar and the Doorwheel, but I should count them. They're watches and they're in my collection. So I started the watch year with 5 watches, 3 that I wear and those 2. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 watches. Some of these have to go. I cannot have 13 watches in my collection because I'm never gonna wear them. And I think I'm gonna sell a couple of the G-Shocks. I know I'm selling the Rangeman. Might be selling the Casio Gray, I don't know. Might be selling the Zelos. I'm gonna sell the NII after the video. I don't know if the Pagani is gonna stay, and I don't know about the Citizen. So yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is to be a collector. And having a YouTube channel. You buy and you sell and you change, and you buy and you sell and you change some more. If you liked if you liked the vad heter det? Yeah. If you liked the State of the Collection Summer 2021 edition video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. And if you didn't like it, just give me a thumbs down and tell me what you didn't like, and I'm gonna try and be better in the next video. Which one of these watches would you like to own? Which one was your favorite and why? Why do you pick this one? And which one of these watches do you like the least and why? Tell me all about it in the comments. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.